G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle, and today we're looking at the Raven Guard in this episode of Getting Started in the Horus Heresy. The Raven Guard are big proponents of infantry light tactics. They like infiltration, they like stealth, subterfuge, but they're not like the Alpha Legion where they'll do a lot of sabotage and assassination. So there's a bit of a distinction between the two. Now the Raven Guard feature an interesting combination of units. On the one hand, there's the refined soldiers born from Deliverance, who are very cool, calm, collected, kept in check by the Primarch, and there's the hot-headed Terran members of the Force who predated Corax, and because they didn't hang around their Primarch, they spent a lot of time with the Sons of Horus. They were very hot-headed, very brutal, basically become the Carcharodons that you know in 40k, for those who are sort of aware of who they are. The Raven Guard have a dark side, very much like the Blood Angels, like the Red Thirst. And it really plays out in their rules especially, but for miniatures it gives you some interesting options, because you'll find that the heavier units like Terminators go down the Sons of Horus route of close in, blood, aggression, and they want to cause carnage, whereas the tactical Marines are exactly that. They're a lot more tactical, they're smarter, they're using infiltration tactics. So when it comes to the miniatures in the box, I think you can get away with the HQs it actually provides. I don't know that I would keep the same war gear, especially on Sword Guy, because, well, I don't like it. But you can definitely move to other things. So the first thing you're going to want, of course, is the Loyalist Legion as Astartes Army book. This will give you the rules you need to play your Raven Guard, whether you're doing Loyalist, Traitor, whichever. Then the decal sheet. It's not a bad decal sheet, but it's definitely one of those you need two of it decal sheets. You just don't have enough symbols. Lots of sets of 5. Your squads in the starter box are lots of sets of 10. Yeah, you can see the problem I'm getting at here. The old Raven Guard sheet was not better than this one, but it was better in that regard. It had a lot of repetition of the same symbol. I have 2 of the old one and 1 of the new one for those who are curious. Now, upgrades. Yes, you can use the Primaris set here, and all those little trinkets like bird skulls and crow's feet and feathers, you can use them everywhere. But the heads are hideous in this, and they've very much gone down this weird emo route. I think Games Workshop bought into their own meme. That's not the Raven Guard. The Raven Guard are closer to Native Americans in their actual styling, especially in 30k. And they're not at all emos. Like Corax was depressed about what went wrong with the Raptors, but as a Legion, the Raven Guard were not depressed in the least. So it's weird that they're going for that emo haircut, like wannabe faux edgy. No, Corax and his Legion were far closer to the Night Lords than they liked, and that really freaked him out, because he admitted in private and having a conversation that if things had gone slightly differently, he would have become Conrad Kurz. So yeah, they're not depressed, they're not edgy, they're measured. But the Slaves to Darkness Corvus Cabal, these guys have some really interesting bits. You have enough feathers to supply an army for a lifetime, but all the little birds landing on people, for example, would look great landing on the shoulder, for example, of a HQ or a character, or on their backpack. It plays into the theme of the Raven Guard and who they are. Of course, the feathers, the fetishes, the little totems, you could utilize those throughout, like the bird's headed totem, for example, on the back of this miniature, would look fantastic in place of the backpack symbols on both of these guys, because it's not really Raven Guard symbology there. This would look much better, and of course, there's the bird. The bird could be landing in that spot. You could take the little belt buckle there away with the bird symbol and the feathers, and put that onto your Marine. Lots you could do with it. Just a great little set, so if you could get a hold of any of the miniatures from this, and people do bit sell them, you know, you can buy them individually. I've found some. Works out to be, I think, $16 a piece, so not super cheap, but not terribly expensive either in Australian currency. Over at Forge World, there is, of course, Mark 6 head upgrades. This is probably the least recommended of all the helmet upgrades I have, because it doesn't really add much to the Mark 6 power armor you're going to get. Best case, a couple of raven symbols on the forehead and some like little wreath crown type thingies. If you want raven symbols on their foreheads, when you go back and you look at the decal sheet, there's lots of little knee pad sized ones available on this sheet or whatever. You could stick those on the helmet if you really wanted to, but you know, it's nice to have the option of them. Maybe you might use them. Then we get to the Dark Furies. Excellent, of course, as their own unit, but I really like them just as bits. You can use these to make a whole bunch of characters, get lightning cores, get them onto squad sergeants. The shoulder pads are just phenomenal on them. I really, really like the shoulder pads. The Mordathan also have them, but I'm going to say to avoid the Mordathan for now, and we'll talk about those in upgrading in the next video. But this right here, you could take the backpacks, the armor, port it out onto your different characters in the Force, really start to turn the Force into something that feels like Raven Guard and feels unique rather than just the same as everyone else. And the last little inclusion is the Legion Praetor's twin set. Now, the Mark III Power Armored Praetor holding the sword, leaning it on the ground sort of pose, not the greatest miniature these days, just because of scale creep and that kind of thing. A beautiful model, but yeah, the scale creep especially really affects him. But he has some interesting parts you can use elsewhere, or you could just use him and, you know, bulk the feet up a little bit, make the rock a little bit bigger that he's standing on, just give him a little extra height. The real winner out of the pair is the Terminator. So the Terminator Praetor, he will give you someone that can lead your Cataphractii Terminators in that Spartan. If you're going to go down that route, you're going to keep them and you want to use that Spartan, have that heavy strike force, it's a good idea to have a character in there, whether you turn him into a Primus Medicae Apothecary, whether you use him as just a Paragon sword-wielding Terminator HQ. You can do that. But it adds an extra amount of killing power to the squad. It can bring on weapons that strike at initiative that can kill other Terminators. These are options open to you, and I recommend going down that route. Anyway, that's it for me, that's it for the Raven Guard. Make it with the outer circle, and I hope to catch you on the next episode.